We will only be here until 3.
All right, welcome everybody to the Appeal Marketing Lab series final session. I'm sad. I don't know what I'm going to do on my first Wednesdays now. First Wednesdays of every month, I get to see Andy's lovely face and his friends that he brings and tells us how we can improve our business. So who wouldn't want to do that? But thank you all so much for being here. This is being recorded, so you guys can watch it later at another point if you need to. But I'm so excited and sad. This is the last one, but I appreciate Andy so much and all of his knowledge and all of the guest speakers that he's had. It's been a wealth of knowledge. And like Beth said, I mean, they got some great connections out of it. So thank you so much, Andy. We really appreciate it. And with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Kim. Thanks for the kind words. Thanks for the opportunity to host this series. Our goal was for it to be beneficial for the folks who attended, and any other marketing needs and questions. And it sounds like so far it's been hopefully fruitful for most that have attended. And we appreciate that you've shown up for the ones for all 4 of these. And I'm really excited that today I can introduce I'm going to call them friends. They may not feel I'm the same way, but that's okay. I'm going to claim it right now. My friends, Sarah and Mary Beth from the Hive Creative Group over in Crozet. They're a marketing firm over there, and they do some amazing work. And today they're going to talk about where your message should live based on your audience and where it should go. And they've got a great presentation today that we're going to walk through. So, Sarah, Mary Beth, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's nice to see everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're going to share our screen. Just kidding. There we go. Can everyone see that? Okay.
Yes.
Well, welcome everybody. I'm Sarah and this is Mary Beth. And we just want to thank the Greater Augusta Regional Chamber of Commerce for hosting this series. We, of course, want to thank our friend, and we call him a friend, Andy at Appeal Production for introducing us to this opportunity to talk with you all today. We know that you've so far covered, this is your 4th week, your 4th month that you've been in this series. You started with identifying your audience, then you moved to aligning your story, and then you had visualizing your channels. And today we're going to talk about determining your channels. So how do you actually go about kind of putting that all together and the best ways to get your message out there, which channels to use. So we wanted to just tell you a little bit about us before we start getting into the meat of our presentation. We are a women-owned, full-service public relations, marketing, and design firm. And I've got about 25 years of experience. Mary Beth has about 20 years of experience. And then we've got 3 other team members. We call ourselves Bees that have a variety of experience. So within our team, we've pretty much covered all aspects of marketing in our long careers. And we've worked with B2B companies as well as B2C companies in real estate, transportation, higher education, lower education, really any industry or organization that you could think of. We've probably had some experience with it. Yeah, so that is about, I think, all that I'm going to talk about. And we're going to turn over to Mary Beth. Those are our team members. Elise is not pictured because she just joined our team about a month ago. And in this time of COVID, it's been a little hard to get some new marketing photos, but we will be doing that soon. So there you go.
Okay, great. So when Andy asked us to talk about like marketing communications channels, we thought we would first start with this idea of integrated marketing. And that just means that, there is this plethora of marketing communications channels, and whichever ones you choose for your business, you just need to make sure you're strategic about it and that your brand is consistent, your brand and your messaging are consistent across all platforms. So we wanted to start with the obvious, the website, your website. Hopefully you all have them. If you don't, you need one.
I think Beth is just working on getting a new one.
Right.
So.
They're updating them every few years. So, 81% of people search online for a product or service. I don't think we need to tell you all this. I think you understand the need, the reasons why websites are so important. But we will say in our website design, one of the things that we've seen change over the past few years is that our attention spans tend to decrease every year. And people really now are looking for more engaging sites, and they're looking for information at their fingertips. So, if you think 10 years ago, the website, you had like 20 links in your navigation. You no longer need to do that. You really just it needs to be a first glance at your company, have most of your information on your homepage, or at least teasers on your homepage that people can click to if they need more information about that topic. But people are also visiting your sites on mobile. And so we talk about scrolling homepages, where if you picture yourself on a mobile device, you're just scrolling, you're not having to go to the hamburger menu and click down and go to another page. So that's one trend we just wanted to point out when you're thinking about your websites and how they currently look. And the other big trend is less copy. It used to be like we'd throw everything but the kitchen sink on the site, and you no longer need to do that either because people aren't reading it. So now more than ever, it's super important that you're using really great high-res images and video, which I know Andy loves to hear, on your website, because that's what people are paying attention to, and it's really telling your story through that imagery. These are just some examples of sites that we've done. Another big one that we really want to focus on today is social media marketing. And we wanted to start by just sharing some stats on kind of the top 4 platforms. I do want to say that we did not include YouTube today. We weren't sure who our audience was going to be today, but primarily YouTube is used for, it's a big one. I mean, in terms of the numbers, it's up there with Facebook, but it's primarily used for how-to videos, comedy, and music and entertainment. So we kind of left that out today, but knowing that that is a great option, if you feel like it's a good fit and if you feel like that's one way to reach your audience. Facebook, is by far the largest beast, and it's for both B2B and B2C companies. So if you're marketing to other businesses or you're marketing to consumers, you need a Facebook presence. Instagram has 500 million daily active users, and it's used a lot by people who are researching products and services. However, we'll get more into demographics of users for each of these platforms, and it is a very consumer-facing platform. So it's not ideal for B2B.
And it's really fast growing too.
Yes. Twitter, we included Twitter. Honestly, we're not huge fans of Twitter, but if you are, we wanted to include it. It has about 145 million daily active users. It's used, by half of B2B and B2C marketers to promote their businesses. And then LinkedIn, 104, so smaller in numbers, but if you are a B2B business and you're really looking to network to grow your business, this is the platform for you.
And it's also a great platform to use if you are looking to expand your team, and so people are using for that as well.
There are many, many, many benefits of social media marketing. I think some of the top are that it is measurable, and we'll get into traditional media as well. But in terms of digital marketing, social media marketing, you can really measure everything that you're doing. You can see how many people are clicking on your links, how many website visits you're getting from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, if your website is hopefully connected to a Google Analytics account. So it is very measurable. You can see, what you're paying per link click, and you can get as much or as little information as you want from it. It's also engaging because of the real time, of digital marketing, and you're having conversations, you're connecting with your audiences on a personal level. It's mobile friendly, which we all know is important these days. It seems more authentic too than traditional media advertising. You can personalize and customize your messaging for your audiences. You can have a more casual tone with social media, again, to foster those connections. And also, it's shareable. So, especially with Facebook and some of the other platforms where you can share content to help build your brand awareness. So then we wanted to talk about another very common communications tool, which is email marketing. Email marketing is cost effective. In many instances, it's free. We do recommend, we use MailChimp, and because we use Squarespace as our website platform, we use their email services as well, and both are great. But MailChimp is free, I believe, up into, unless you have more than 2,000 contacts on your email lists. Action oriented, especially when you're using these services like MailChimp and Squarespace, where you can include videos, you can include links to, your website or specific blogs or whatever it is that you may be promoting, your social media channels. It is the #1 way for acquiring new customers. So like when we're building websites, we make sure we either have, like if they have a monthly newsletter that goes out, we have the pop-ups that appear after they're on your page for like 30 seconds that say, want to hear more, join our e-newsletter, or perhaps you have a contact form on your website that people complete. So you get to build these lists that are super targeted, but it's also list of people who have expressed an interest in your company before, which helps turn them into actual customers. And then, like MailChimp is completely measurable, looking at what links were clicked on, how many people clicked on them, so that you can build your content in the future to find out what's most engaging to your audiences. And then you guys are covering this, so I'm going to move you up. Personal, because a lot of these services, you're able to create different types of contact lists in them. And so you can really tailor your message to whatever audiences you may have.
I'll make sure you didn't hit stop share.
Are you guys seeing this still? Okay. So then we wanted to talk about traditional media. And by this, we're talking about TV, radio, newspapers, and magazines. There are definitely pros and cons. Traditional media is awesome if you have some sort of big announcement. If you have a new product that has launched, or you're offering a brand new service that people in a specific area need to know about. And that type of coverage, the more organic coverage, which means you're not paying for advertising, but it's actually being covered on the 6 o'clock news, is more trusted. However, the cons are the ads. To run a newspaper or magazine ad, it is a lot more expensive than digital ads. It's less interactive. You're not having those real-time conversations with people and answering questions, and it's also less measurable. You can't see who clicked on your ad or who visited your ad unless you're asking people when they call you, how did you hear about us, which a lot of us forget to do. So it's less measurable, it's less timely. With digital media, you can launch something in a second. And with this, it has to be well planned out. You typically have to have, your commercial filmed way in advance or your print ad designed way in advance, and less targeted. You are able to target based on like viewers for specific programs and things like that, but it's definitely not as targeted as digital media. And then, like we said, there are so many channels to consider. We just included, a few of the ones that we get the most inquiries about, like Google Ads campaigns, for example. These are another great digital advertising channel. They are more expensive than social media ads. So for a Facebook ad, for example, you can be charged anywhere from like 60 cents per click, to a few dollars. And with Google Ads, you're typically looking at, I don't know, between $4 and $6 per click.
Mhm.
The great thing about Google Ads, though, is that those clicks tend to be more quality leads, because people are on Google searching specifically for a product or service that you offer, and then you pop up. Whereas Facebook or Instagram is more like, oh, I didn't know they offered this. That looks interesting. So leave behinds and collateral, is another communications tool. If you are a company that does a lot of presentations, or you go on a lot of pitches or events, and you need those, tangible, I guess, tools to hand out. Blogging, we do a lot of ghost blogging for clients, and the main, I guess, the biggest reason companies blog these days is to drive website traffic. It really helps with your SEO, and it boosts you in those Google rankings. However, you do have to have, blogging takes some planning. We sit down every month and come up with full campaigns for our clients. Like in January, we're going to focus on this service or this product, and we develop blogs for it. We develop social media posts for it. We develop e-newsletters for it. So again, it's kind of that all of these fit into that overall kind of integrated marketing campaign that we started talking about. And then just some other ones here too. Video marketing, which I know Andy, again, would love to hear about. And videos are a really effective way to promote your brand. People love watching videos online. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of those.
All right, and then we have brought you an example of an integrated marketing campaign. This is a client of ours that we developed their brand, first of all. So that's their brand style sheet that you see over on the left. And I imagine you heard about this on one of the previous sessions that you were a part of. But this brand style sheet is kind of a guidepost for how we then use their brand and use their colors in direct mail pieces, social media Facebook page, and a social media Instagram page. And the benefit of having this kind of integrated look is that every time their patients engage with UVA LASIK, they know exactly who they are. Really quickly, they can visually recognize that this is, their eye care provider of choice. And the message and the look is just consistent across all these different types of media. So it's kind of a crucial piece of making sure that that feels really cohesive.
So how to choose your channels. So anytime we work with a new client, one of the first things we do is identify their goals. So we talk about their overall business goals, like their sales, if they're trying to grow by a certain percentage this year, or whatever their goals might be, to increase enrollment in a program. We identify those, and then we also identify their marketing goals. Are you just looking to increase awareness of your brand? Are you looking to drive website traffic? Are you looking to position you or your staff as thought leaders in the community? You know, what are those goals? And then we take a look at their audiences, which I know you all have done, and looking at where are they spending time online? What are their common interests or demographics? What types of content do they find most valuable? And then budget is an important consideration when you're talking about or thinking about which communication channel to choose. And are you going to hire an outside firm, or do you have the staff in-house to get it done? And if they're doing it, do they have time to do it? Also, paid advertising. You know, what are your paid advertising? What's your budget for that? Are you investing in any software for your marketing channels, like design software or maybe social media software, which is good for those of you who have more than one social media channel. You can think about like a Hootsuite or a Sprout or something like that.
I've got a question.
Mhm.
On the goals, what if all of those are my goals?
Well, we kind of break them down. So if you're trying to establish yourself as a thought leader in the community, then how should you be doing that? You know, if you're trying to promote a new product or service to a certain segment of the audience, how are we going to reach that? So then we break them down.
Yeah, we would have different campaigns for each of those things to.
Yeah. And then decide which channels to use to promote those.
Cool. Thank you.
So then we get into a little more of the demographics here with social media, because it is such a big one, and it's cost effective. So it relates a lot to a lot of different businesses. Facebook, we typically recommend Facebook for all audiences, because it is by far the #1 platform that is used. So the majority of the Facebook users are between the ages of 30 and 49, although the boomer crowd continues to grow on that, and the 29 and under continues to decrease. Facebook users in 2020 were 56% male, 44% female. Also, in terms of if you're on a shoestring budget, like I mentioned, it is the least amount of money and the greatest return on your investment, because those link clicks and things like that are so low. And actually, for marketing and advertising and running those ads, it just became the #1 platform last year for B2B over LinkedIn, and it is for B2C companies as well. Instagram. So Instagram is an awesome option if you're targeting a younger audience. The majority of Instagram users are between 18 and 29, although there's also a lot of the 30 to 49-year-olds on there as well. If you're targeting people over 50, we would not recommend Instagram. And also, Instagram tends to lean more female centric in the US. Globally, I believe it's males, but in the US, it's females. Instagram is a more diverse platform, so it has a higher percentage of Black people, Hispanics. So if you're trying to reach a more diverse audience, Instagram is a great communications tool. It's also great for local businesses, because you can use local hashtags and people follow these hashtags, like Visit Stanton, for instance. People follow that hashtag. So when you use it, in your post, hopefully you're showing up on those local feeds. And Instagram is definitely more for consumer businesses, not B2B. Although we use it, we're B2B.
Mhm.
Twitter, again, we just included this. It's great if you're targeting people under 49. It is very male centric. So way more male users on Twitter. It is the least trusted. And also, if your goal is to drive website traffic from a social platform, Twitter would not be. Twitter's great to have conversations and things like that online. But if you're trying to drive people to click to an external link, it has the lowest rate. And then LinkedIn. So the majority of LinkedIn users are ages 30 to 49. It's about half and half in terms of males and females. It is great for those B2B businesses. It is the most trusted social platform as well. It's also the most expensive in terms of advertising. It's up there with your Google ads. And then we just, through this, and there's a great resource. It's called Social Media Examiner. And every year they come out with a report, an annual social media report, and where they survey thousands of marketers across the US. So people who are either working for marketing agencies or they handle marketing within their own companies. So when, we thought there's a lot of talk about organic posts versus paid posts these days. And we thought, so the audience, the survey recipients were asked to, in the future, how do you plan to change your online, your social media usage? And for organic change, which is just posts without any money behind them, Facebook, 50% plan to increase their organic posts, 37% plan to stay the same. So I think people are going to continue using Facebook to market their businesses. Instagram here, 67% plan to increase their Instagram posts. So again, it's one of the fastest growing platforms. LinkedIn, 55% plan to increase, 24% plan to stay the same. And Twitter was the lowest in terms of increasing. Again, we're making our Twitter story here about how we're not big fans. In terms,
zoom into that one too.
Yeah. In terms of how people plan to advertise on these platforms, sorry, my little video, my Zoom keeps getting in the way. Facebook ads, again, people are either increasing or staying the same, not a lot of decreasing. Instagram, so you can just see all of these. This did have YouTube, which, we're getting into more of I do not plan to use these here. So really Facebook and Instagram, again, are the two main ones that people plan to use or at least stay the same in the future.
For the B2B clients that we work with, we do usually use LinkedIn at least to share the organic content that we're producing. We'll make sure to share it on LinkedIn as well.
I don't know why it does that. And then in terms of those organic posts, so again, posts that you're not paying for to boost or you're not running ads, which ones get the most engagement? And for Facebook, the live video by far received the most engagement. Next in line was the single image, so posts with just a single image in them, followed by posts with a video, posts with a link. So, on Facebook, you can attach a URL and it oftentimes brings up that website that people can click on. And then just a status update with no graphics or images attached was the least interactive. On Instagram, people prefer the carousel images. So those are when you attach more than one image and you get the little dots and you can scroll through the pictures. Those were the most interactive, post on Instagram, followed by image and video. And this was a change in 2020, because in 2019, video was by far the top, and it still might be. It was just in this one survey.
And additionally, I think people used social media a little differently in the past year.
Mhm.
So it could be a little blip in how things look for 2020 because we were all behaving a little differently.
All right. And so then we just put together, given all of this information, and Andy said that sometimes you guys go through some exercises, we put together a PDF that we can actually email Andy at the end of this that he can share with you. But just to get you thinking about which communications are best for your business, going through the exercise that we just described. So it's looking at considering your goals, your business goals, and your marketing goals, your audiences. And I know you've already defined them. I didn't know how you would define them, but we recommend looking at the demographics, the age, their genders, where they're located, where are they working, and what role, what roles are they? If you're B2B and you're targeting a specific business, who are you targeting within those businesses? So we look at that. What common interests do they have? So we were just talking to a company, and they are organic. They offer these like organic garden kits and beds and things like that. And he had completely identified his audience, and it was the Whole Foods shopper. And he, I think he was very smart at how he approached this, because he said Whole Foods has already done all the market research. And so he was just, so they know exactly, Whole Foods knows exactly where their target audience is, and they build a Whole Foods there, so he was targeting all these Whole Foods locations across the country to promote his products. So, and I just thought that was really interesting and an awesome way to look at it. He really knew his audience well. So looking at these common interests, what do they read? Where do they shop? What events do they attend? Things like that. Again, where do they get most of their information? Are they online, or are they more of the traditional media viewer? And what needs do they fulfill? So what are you offering that would be a solution to them? Whether it's traveling solutions or business solutions, what problems are you solving for them? And developing messaging around that as well. And then considering your marketing budget, because that plays a big role in what channels you should select. And then looking at your appropriate channels, which ones should you choose, because there are so many. And if you're new to this, which I don't know that a lot of you are, but if you are new to this, we suggest start small and grow. And we always suggest for clients who come to us, maybe they're a new business and they're just starting, and they're like, we need to be on Snapchat and Facebook. And we're like, no. Like, pick one or two, do them really well, and then, and then add a new one every year or so, or every few years. So anyways, this is an exercise we just came up with. I don't know if you all want to take some time to think about your own businesses, and then maybe share your findings, or you can ask us questions. I'm not sure how you all want to do this. Or if we just want to go into a Q&A, which is fine too.
Yeah, or one final option would be that we could, if one of you wanted to kind of volunteer to share, to walk through the exercise, we'd be happy to do that with you as well.
Mhm.
So.
Could you upload the file in the chat?
We can maybe figure that one out. Let me work on that.
You should be able to go to chat, file, and then your
Yep,
computer.
Yep. I'm getting there.
Your computer. Yeah.
This is always such a talkative group. Come on, don't let me down on the last class.
Under there.
I say we pick somebody, Andy, and let's walk through it with them.
There you go. Okay,
should-
there's this file is in the
is
chat, so you all can download it now.
Maybe Zoom. Well, maybe we want to keep it up there.
Oh, I wasn't reading the chat.
Yeah.
They want to know what the dog's name is. So
Oh, Ruby. It's Sarah's dog. She usually comes to the office every day with us. She's not here today, but usually she's here.
Yeah.
all right, nobody wants to volunteer. I'm gonna call on somebody.
Say somebody's gonna get voluntold.
Or we can just, we can answer questions
There you go. That works too.
people would prefer, or
Yeah, we don't want to put anybody on the spot.
Speak for yourselves.
I was gonna say,
We just thought it might be nice to, pick two marketers' brains for 20 minutes and get some complimentary advice.
Yeah, and this is a lot. This is a lot to take in too, right? I mean,
It is,
there's a lot of
yeah.
platforms, a lot of places. There's traditional versus digital, and all those kind of spaces that you could be in, and you could already be in multiples of those. Some of you probably already are. So now's the time to ask these brilliant ladies questions about
Yeah. And you can
what you
always
got
put
going
it
on.
in the chat too if you don't
Yeah.
feel like raising your hand or being on
Stop
video.
sharing.
I'm curious how many of your clients, either Andy or you guys, are using LinkedIn. I feel like I never ever get on LinkedIn. I feel like there's very few, or a very certain type, I guess, of business that uses LinkedIn.
Yeah, so we, most of our clients are consumer businesses. But with that said, I would say probably 30% maybe are B2B. And they have, we just did our first advertising campaign this year on LinkedIn for one of our clients because it just hasn't been something that's asked of us in the past. And so yeah, I guess 30%. I think if you're a business to business, you definitely should be on LinkedIn. And we do use LinkedIn though for like anytime we launch a new blog post, we put it on LinkedIn. We have one client, he networks like crazy on LinkedIn. He has like thousands of followers. That's his main mode of communication.
He's not even on Facebook.
Yeah. He's
Yeah.
just on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I would say we are starting to get more requests because LinkedIn has added in a new video component. So I've already had a couple of requests for that recently. But week one or month one of this series, Patrick McFadden, who talked through the goals and the audience piece, he is on LinkedIn at least multiple times a day. He's always posting on LinkedIn, and he's B2B, and he's always either asking questions or posting really thoughtful comments on a topic that his audience is interested in. So honestly, I'm probably on there more regularly now to see what he's posting because it's interesting to me to see what kind of conversations he's driving in his space.
Right. Yeah.
So
And
hi, I have a question. This is Susie Dahl. I'm with Blue Ridge Community College. I work in workforce and continuing education, which if you're not familiar, is our nationally recognized credentials, non-credit courses, professional development, and personal enrichment. I see Jennifer out there. I'm not going to forget you. Types of classes.
Thank you, Susie.
You're very welcome. So we have when we start to talk about who is our audience, our nationally recognized credentials, our welders, our CNAs, our CDL people, they're different than my leadership HR, which is different than our IT certifications, which is different than our personal enrichment and our fine arts. So I think that's kind of where we struggle to find, we're trying really hard to make, Jennifer, don't cringe, a year-long marketing plan, or at least I am. And it's really hard because we're going in so many different directions. Do you have any advice on how to make that path a little straighter and cleaner?
Well, I think definitely a content calendar would help to kind of just loosely start by like earmarking what times of the year you would want to promote like the CDL license, or maybe that's all times of the year, but kind of working out a content calendar of, okay, you know, people are graduating from high school at, you know, in the spring, and they're considering their ongoing education, like what messages and how do we reach those people versus people that are going through a career change and things like that. So kind of working out a rough general content calendar, and then probably having rows or columns for each of your different audiences. You could color code them so that you would know, you know, keep it color coded for the different types of audiences, and then what the message would be each.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we actually just went through this with a client who has many different types of audiences. And so we started by developing sort of a matrix of who the different audiences are. What is the main messaging for each of those audiences? What are the main programs or service you want to promote for each of those audiences? And then what makes most sense in terms of communications channels on how to reach them? And so then once we identified all of that for the year, we developed the content calendar, and we're looking at month to month. What are we promoting this month, and who is our audience, and what is our messaging? And then we already had it, you know, in the matrix that we could refer back to in terms of what campaigns we're launching and where, you know, what communications channels we're using to launch the campaigns.
Yeah,
I
and
know
I'll go ahead.
It is a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot, and I think that their advice is spot on. And the other piece is almost looking at it that you have multiple products that you're promoting, and they are for different audiences, and so each of those products should be, you know, I've got a budget for welding, I've got a budget for HR, or I've got a budget for learning how to ride a motorcycle. You know, those kinds of things I think would be really important for you to really help to break that down a little bit and not try to cast such a wide net to catch everybody. It's being very specific. And I think that's the beauty of a lot of the information that Mary Beth and Sarah presented earlier as far as the digital marketing piece, is you can be very specific on who you're targeting and know whether it's working or not.
Yeah. And it's
Like the
super
specific
affordable.
thing. That's the sales pitch that has to be made on campus, is that the net isn't cast for just everybody. We do have to say, here's our specific, here's who this person is, and that's who we're looking to attract. And Andy, if you know anybody that might be on the board that wants to talk about budget things, if you want to pass this information along to them.
We'd love it. Right?
I'll see what I can do.
Just saying.
Just putting in a word.
Jennifer, did I miss anything?
No, you didn't. I mean, Susie's taken on, I used to do personal enrichment and fine arts, and they've moved me temporarily to another division. So she's even taken on that piece, which is really out of our workforce format. So it's a challenge.
Because also know that no one in our division is in charge of marketing.
Right. We had a 3-person team. Now we have 2, and
Oh gosh.
That's
yeah,
a lot.
it's a lot. Susie's done fabulous though. It's just keeping it all straight.
Let me puff up my part because my grade's showing. So sorry about that.
In fact, she's doing a Facebook Live at 3:00 if anybody wants to watch.
Yeah, I did one last night.
Oh, you did a
Hence my
Oh.
May the 4th
Yeah.
be with you.
Any other questions?
I'll share some, I guess, input from a B2B perspective. One area that I'm thinking about routinely is search, because we are a commercial construction company, so B2B, and oftentimes we're looking at minimum thousands of dollars, but really more so millions of dollars per project. And so, not that I don't think search is important, I do, but I think I'm having to kind of navigate and think of the ways that search really is important for us. And is it more branded types of search, related to our business name more specifically, rather than people just looking at like a high level, like general contractor near me, or something like that when it's such a big decision and it's a long sales cycle. So that's just something that I routinely go back and forth on.
Do you, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, do you look at your analytics to see how they're performing and so we would probably recommend that you do that. You look at how keywords are performing and what people are searching for when they actually do convert into being customers for you. And then we would recommend that you put your efforts towards that because that's your low hanging fruit.
And where a majority of your site traffic is coming from. So if it's direct traffic, they already know about you and they're just entering your URL in Google. If it's organic traffic, they are searching for key terms and phrases to find you online. And so there is a Google keyword tool that you can use. Why am I blanking on where to find this? It's Keyword Planner.
Yeah, Keyword Planner.
In the Google tools, and you can actually type in like up to 10 words or phrases that relate to your business, and it will generate a report of how many people are searching for those on a monthly basis online, and also give you alternate keywords and phrases to use. So it'll be like, well, here's the word you search for. We also recommend these 5 words.
It will also give you a very helpful piece of information, which is how much competition there is for that keyword and how much it's going to cost you. So you could find that commercial construction is going to cost you $200 a click. Whereas if you searched for something different, it could be kind of that low hanging fruit that has a $20 conversion rate. So it's going to be more efficient and effective and not quite as much noise in that arena as well. So there's kind of like a sweet spot, but that is a really helpful planner.
Yeah, it's kind of like when our clients are using hashtags, we tell them don't use the hashtag that has 3 million followers. Use the one with 100,000 because you have more of a chance of being seen and heard in that, using that one. And it's the same thing with these keywords and phrases. If there's a general term that has a lot of competition, like Sarah was saying, and this report will tell you what it is, we're like, go for the ones that are highly searched but have low competition. If that, it tells you each of those categories too.
And that's helpful. I haven't really played around with the keyword planner all that much. I have looked at our analytics pretty routinely, and it often tends to be desktop traffic that is our company name and mostly organic.
And what pages are they, because that tells you too, like what content is most important to them. If there's pages or certain products that they're looking at, and you just want to start running ads for those specific products because they're in high demand or whatever that might be, that can help you as well.
Yeah, good point. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, I've got one. You guys, ladies, had mentioned earlier that kind of a new thing with website design is much less copy. For a long time, we heard about, SEO and the important, as I think related to what Ariana just said, the keywords and how they relate to Google search and that kind of thing. How has that impacted, that lack of copy on a website impacted Google search or SEO and those kinds of things? Yeah. And how are you combating that?
That's why we recommend a blog for most of our clients, because if you do have, first of all, it can provide information to the people that do go to a website looking for a lot of information, looking for information about your theories on things or the reasons behind your products and your services. But it also is an awesome place to put in that SEO. And then we also recommend that you always put some descriptions on all of your pages, page descriptions.
On the back end.
The search engines will be crawling for that. And then finally tagging your images to make sure that you don't put up something that's called image.jpg. Instead you say, you know, Andy Vanhook profile picture. So that, and that can help also with just ADA compliance and helping people that might not be able to see very well. They use screen readers that will read the website to them. So that's really helpful to those clients as well.
But we, you know, we do use that Google Keywords Planner, Andy. So to come up with a list of keywords and phrases for these websites. And then we just make sure we're thoughtful with the copy. And, you know, we have this entire SEO checklist because it also, your page titles matter, you know, like what the titles are. Like Sarah was saying, the page descriptions on the back end for SEO matters that people don't see, but Google crawlers see it. And then as far as copy on the actual pages, it's making sure you're using those keywords and phrases that are popular, but don't have a lot of competition, especially if you're a local company. Like we always try to use the word Charlottesville marketing firm or Charlottesville graphic design or, you know, whatever, because we want, when people search for that, we want, you know, to be found, obviously. So, so we use localities in it as well, since we're a local business.
Does
Let
it
me
help
throw
to,
out go ahead again.
I was just going to piggyback on one more little thing. Does it help also that SEO piece to use those phrases like Charlottesville graphic design in any of the social media posts that you're making?
I think maybe in your profile, like your about, or your profile, like when you search, you usually see the entire Facebook page come up, but not like, I'm talking about a Google search, but not a specific post, you know? So I don't know that helps, but we do use it in our, you know, profile bios or whatever, or the about sections.
I have a quick question. So you were talking a lot about social media advertising. Do you have any opinion or any advice for advertisers who are, you know, pretty actively using social media for advertising with the new privacy features that have been implemented? I guess it was last month. How do you think that's going to affect social media advertisers?
We have so many conversations about this, and we read a lot about it, and we actually troubleshoot with a guy. All he does is Facebook ads. That's all he does for a living. And he has become our consultant when we have clients. A lot of Facebook ads now are getting shut down for, you know,
It can seem
for anything.
random. Yeah.
And so anyways, we use him and we pick his brain about this too. And his mentality and our mentality is kind of just, it's going to be a wait and see. You know, like probably 18 to 24 months ago, Facebook shifted from organic posts and forcing businesses to pay for advertising. And it might be that we're, you know, headed back to the organic route again. But I did just read this projection. I don't know if it was the Washington Post or where it was, but they thought that maybe only 30% of people would opt out, or those who opt out of being targeted would hate the way their Facebook and Instagram accounts look because they are no longer relevant to them, that they would opt back in. So I think it's just kind of a wait and see with that. Unfortunately, we don't have the answer.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
It is kind of scary.
Well, and even just with normal social media posts, I feel like, you know, it feels like no one sees your post hardly.
They don't.
Like when you have all these followers
to advertise.
It's maddening.
It is maddening. We agree.
But there's nothing any of us can do, I guess.
We see your posts, Heather.
I know, Courtney, you're
We
so
love
good at
them.
commenting. Yeah, Andy, Susie, you guys are all really good. Thank you.
Can I go back to the keyword conversation real quick? And I'm probably just showing website design is not my wheelhouse, but I'm having to dip my toe into it. So we have a registration system that's separate from we internally call it our .edu, which is the main campus website. We are limited to some things that we can put on there due to ADA and state things, but we have a little more freedom on our registration site. So when we put our classes out there, it's the, it has the class name, the description, the dates, the price, all those kinds of things, and they can purchase online. On the back end of that, we can use meta tags. Is that done? I mean, is meta tags, is it done with? Because some things I was reading was saying, yeah, Google skips over those. It's the keywords now. Or am I mixing up the same thing for two different words for the same thing?
Yeah, so I think that the meta tags is more for when you're searching within the site itself.
Yeah, I don't know. We use Squarespace for most of our website design, and that's not one of the things that Squarespace focuses on. I feel like it's more WordPress, but so I don't know about that.
I do know though that Google. So for a while, website developers thought, well, we can just put these keywords on the site because they're popular, even if they're not related to what we're putting on the site.
Mm-hmm.
And so it does have a kind of checks and balances to make sure that what you're saying is on the site is actually on the site. And so I think that's why it's gone away from the meta tags, because it believes that if that content and that copy is on the page, it's more true to what the content is. And so it has shifted that way. So that could be part of that.
Yeah.
I would focus more on the keywords and
but I don't think it would hurt. And honestly, I would just Google it and see if it's still important for some sites. And if it is, I would just do it. But like Sarah's saying, I would make sure it's reflective of the content that's on your site and not just peppering as many keywords as you can.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Well, we are approaching the hour. Andy, do you want to say anything as we wrap up here?
Well, first I got to thank Mary Beth and Sarah. Thank you all so much for this session today. I think it was highly educational. I took like a lot of sticky notes. So I have a lot to learn as well. So I really appreciate you all joining us today and helping us advance our marketing. So thank you so much. And everybody else, thank you all for attending. This has been an awesome experience for me, and I've learned a lot through it, and I hope you all have as well, and have found opportunities to put it to good use. And thank you to GARC for allowing us this opportunity to present this series.
This has been really fun. Yeah, thank you, Mary Beth and Sarah. I took a bunch of notes too. Just learning about that keyword planner was awesome. I'd actually never heard of that. So fantastic information today. Thank you so much, Andy. We appreciate you always. And for sponsoring this series. I think we have all learned a ton. After every single session, we're all in the office like, ooh, what if we do this? What if we try this? So this has been fantastic information. We appreciate you bringing on your experts and colleagues in these different areas. And thank you guys too for make sure you download the handouts that Mary Beth and Sarah put in the chat there. So thank you to everybody that has participated. Hope you all have found this really beneficial. We're hoping to do something similar in the fall. So if you'll have any ideas for topics, things you want to learn about, speakers, any of that, just let us know. We have a lot coming up, so be sure and check out our calendar of events. If you haven't registered for our Ignite conference, that's coming up next week, 1 week from today. We're super excited. It will be virtual, 9 to about 12:30. We have a fantastic keynote speaker. We'll have our regular speed networking, and then a couple different breakout sessions, which will be really awesome too. So if you guys can register for that. Other than that, just follow along on the calendar. We have some upcoming in-person events this month. We're excited to have some ribbon cuttings on the calendar. Business After Hours is back. Yay. All the extroverts are excited. So we can't wait to see you guys in person over the next couple months as we get back to some sort of normal around here. So again, thank you, Andy. We appreciate you, and everybody have a fantastic day.
Thank you.